All right, hello everybody. It's another week, another Thursday, and we're here in our Twitter space about Webflow SEO. And today our topic is semantic search. So we're gonna be talking about semantic search, what it is, and how does it work, and what's the difference between any other search types and semantic search. So the way I see this, semantic search is just a scary new way of looking at how did search results and how did the whole logic behind SEO changed in the last few years. It's more of a last 5 years since BERT was released by Google. This was 2017. So, and then we're waiting for another big algorithm that will be called MUM. It's coming soon. We don't know when yet, but Google announced it some time ago. So we know it's going to be coming. And basically what that means that BERT understands search results better, understands it semantically, and then probably MUM will understand it completely. And then it's going to turn from partially keyword, but also plenty of, hey Maria. So we're talking about semantic search today. We're talking about how is that affected, and we'll see how this goes. I'm also trying to record this as a podcast on my computer. Okay, so semantic search. Well, basically the logic behind it. Actually, you want to chat? No, okay, let's start. Okay, so semantic search. Easiest way to understand what's the difference between old school keyword search and current new hype about semantic search, which is happening for the last 5 years, is that you have to think about things, not strings. And this is not even my quote. This is a quote from Katie Brown. But I have my own kind of view on it, and it usually sounds scary, more scary than it actually is. So what semantic search means is that Google understands that word has a meaning, not only matching keywords. So basically, this touches on the topic we had last week, which is like how search intent work and how questions work and what Google is looking for an answer. So I decided this is a good follow-up. But the way I want everybody to look at semantic search, it's not as scary as it is. As with everything in development and in technical SEO and in on-page optimization SEO and sitemap building, it just changes how we have to look into everything. But this changes from the way we were looking at it 5 or 10 years ago. So some of you and most of us, and I know I'm using all those, most of those strategies without even knowing that I'm using it, just because those who started later will be that way. So best example of semantic search is basically, I like talking about Apple example. When you type in just one word into Apple, when you just type in one word into Google, which is Apple, Google doesn't know. Is it the software company? Is it the fruit? Is it something else? And that's where the semantic problems start. That's where semantic search comes into play. That's why Google in this scenario will understand that you didn't give them enough information about what you're looking for. So they will try to suggest you pathways you could take. And this is very important in semantic search because you, as a website developer or content manager or something, have to also think the same way on your website. If somebody landed here with unclear intent or something, we have to make sure that we help them deepen their knowledge. So what's the difference between keyword search and semantic search? Well, keyword search, as it was like 5 or more years ago, and still even today is in those fields or search queries that don't have enough data, is that keyword search only allows you to learn specifically the answer to what you were looking for. And semantic search allows you to learn more than you expected by basically forcing you to acknowledge some other information that you haven't considered is there. So other questions, other things to consider, other topics, or anything else. So Google does that on their platform very well, and the more data they have, the more better they do. So that hence the Apple example, is it a software company or a fruit? And they will ask you that first when you search for it. And then another kind of good example we have to talk about when we're talking about semantic SEO and semantic website building is that it's no longer needed like everybody's used to. Oh, SEO is just stuffing words into the page. That doesn't work that way ever since BERT was released in 2017. And with MOM coming soon, that will be completely probably eradicated forever, So what we're talking here, another good example I know from this one, I think I heard on Voices of Speech podcast, is the example for semantic search that Google understands how words, or in this case, entities, are related. So you no longer have to stuff keywords into the page. And we're going to get to the technical development and HTML aspect of that a little bit later. But basically, if you Google for best doctor or experienced physician, Google understands that this is the same thing. So you no longer need to have both things on your on your page for you to rank for it. So basically, which tells us that if you structure your website sitemap, if you structure your content throughout the page, if you structure everything else properly for semantic search, you will be rewarded with bigger reach, not only for that particular keyword. So basically, different meaning, same word, and same meaning, different word is the two aspects that you have to think when you think semantically. Like good example for Webflow would be, when you Google for Webflow builder, are you looking for a person who will build the website or a platform? And this touches our last week's topic about search intent. Google determined that probably you're looking for a platform to build your website. But so understanding these that segregation between intents and then putting it properly within your website structure is very, very important. So that's good news for us. That means websites become less spammy. That means that we don't need to optimize for so many words like ever before. And that means that we can now rank for words that aren't even on a page, which saves us headaches as long as we're communicating with search engines properly. So, and this all comes down to optimizing for basically keyword clusters or just simply topics. So the logic behind how you have to think semantically about structuring your both content and HTML and the whole website and everything is like you're always thinking about the topic at hand, not the specific answer to specific question. And you are not only thinking it in terms of this one page, but you're also thinking of all other pages, just all other links, everything in between. So that gives us more power than before. And I know that Webflow community is usually very frustrated when it comes to seeing websites ranked that have insanely bad UX. That gives us opportunity to kind of put the new frontier of semantic website building into play, therefore creating better UX with better content depth and better length for the users. So in this case, we're talking whenever you're planning a new website, you're planning sitemap for it, you're planning the whole URL structure behind it. Webflow allows us to use very powerful tools like CMS Builder and everything else like that to develop this kind of insanely good user experience for semantic results. Basically, because as we just spoke, it's important to note that you have to give user more than he was searching for. So that's basically the whole logic behind semantic analysis and building. So you have to understand their problem and lead them further than they were thinking they were gonna go with this one search. So, okay, and then, all right. So one of the ideas behind it, which also helps us, is adding structured data across the site. So this tool allows us as website creators to instead of like it was before, writing content for search engines, now we can write content for humans, but structured data will be for bots, and crawlers. And that's why structured data is so important. And it's not only important on your site to mark, where you just mark, oh, this is an article and this is the title of it. But no, it means globally throughout the site, we can make this understandable structure of information, basically, as we just said, topic. So analyzing that whole topic and proving to Google that we are in depth covering all aspects of the topic within our all one CMS or the whole website, by just giving structured data, which will not be rendered to the user. That's the important part. So this is like how we solve for the need. Otherwise, we would need to be spammy and very repetitive throughout our content. And then this allows us to actual HTML render content, such as heading, text, and images, be a little bit more loose and a little bit more actually aimed at humans, So I know it's a lot, but let's continue here. All right. So with semantic data and semantic kind of whole analysis behind what you're building, it also gave birth to semantic content optimizing tools, which basically means it analyzes search results, analyzes what's similar between them, and helps you cover topics. But because the whole movement towards more semantic approach when it comes to building online experiences, because of that being born, it becomes more and more important that you're professional in your, not niche, don't want to use the word niche, topic. So that means that those optimizer tools will turn your content spammy if you don't understand the topic at hand. So and also EAT as an Google tool for analyzing how authoritative any content or website is based on who is behind it, especially in your money or life niches, but it also works everywhere else. This kind of builds this whole idea behind building a website that will be the best answer to that topic at hand. But we have to understand that when we're talking about these things, we're not talking about a 20, 30 page website. It's not enough to have 30 pages to show Google authoritativeness in any topic, because how could you be? There's no proof to that. And we're thinking about, hence what we spoke last week about content clustering and the importance of covering topics as a whole, not only one. And imagine that after we build multiple clusters and they all are connected, this is how you prove to Google the semantic value you're bringing to the table. And that's why websites are never done. They have to be planned for never being done, which is kind of being a sitemap architect is scary when you know that there's that 10,000 threshold in Webflow, but that's another topic for another day. So yeah, all right. So what also is happening further on is, because you're writing topically relevant content, what changes from old school keyword search is that user, as I mentioned, will find what they were looking for if the search would be just keyword based, but when the search is semantically based, user will and should always find more than they were looking for. So basically, that's the hardest part of, I think, planning a website, is to understand how you're going to create that value outside of any kind of URL you will create, knowing that you will create hundreds and thousands of URLs. So that's something to think. And of course, next thing is semantic HTML, which probably developers can cover way much better than me. But instead of divs and divs and divs and divs, we now use headers, articles, figures, footers, and tags like that to kind of give clear instructions on sections and local hierarchy within the HTML page we are presenting to Google, and add on top the structured data, well, schema markup across the site, and all this kind of gives this modular understanding of all your website. With recent few updates, which there was 4 in the last 2 months from Google, it becomes more and more clear that ranking for a keyword is no longer your page is optimized, your website is optimized. And that's becoming more and more vivid and noticeable in some search queries. And because this is achieved with quite powerful new AI installments, that means that now content strategy becomes even more important than it ever was, because it's no longer shooting giving 30 guesses to your blog about random, easy keywords that you found in search in SEO tools, and then just hitting one and being in position 1 and getting 1,000 views. It's more about doing similar, but at the same time doing it as a global topic, and then winning in all of those scenarios at certain different instances. So that's because of the content clustering and connecting your whole website as a whole entity when it comes to some sort of, well, now I'm gonna fail, but set of entities. So yeah. All right. So a few things to cover to the end till we open. I wanted today's kind of chat to be a little bit more freeform, because the topic at hand is a little bit vague and still new. And it goes anywhere from very simple advice to very complex analysis and insanely overcomplicated, Python math tables. So it's something that just we should be, as Webflow designers, developers, content producers, website architecture builders, and we just should be aware of this as an important. And with the tools at hand being Webflow, we can hit and miss multiple times when it comes to semantic building because of the freedom we get. But also we will build new frontiers when it comes to how we will gonna come up with new ways how to build these complex structures that are easily understandable both for humans and for crawlers, because that's usually the tricky part about websites. Make it too boring for humans, but good enough for crawlers, and the experience is bad. Make it only experience and nobody sees your website. So that whole balance, understanding how semantic search and code and everything else works, is the goal to start building better experiences and more reachable websites. So a few kind of things I noted in the end was, 1, write for topic, not keyword. That comes both on the page as a single URL and the website as a whole, of course. And then why I kind of decided to go with this topic, even though it's not very precise and not ideally. And ideally, this topic should not be only sound, is because I think building your website or a single CMS of your website for a topic is hard for most website practices, because a lot of clients and designers and developers still kind of think towards SEO from this perspective of, oh yeah, so then it's blog posts, right? And then they create blog and blog categories, and that's 2 CMSs that work together. We create one static page, which is blog, and we're done. Because now SEO can come in and just play with it however they want. But actually, to give an example, I have a project for a SaaS that has more than 200 undocumented features as it stands, and so the only way, the more I work on the how to structure CMSs for them, the more clear it was that to develop structure of just showcasing features so that they have ability to rank, it's not only good UX designer work is needed there to develop those structures, but also it's at least 5 CMSs as a cluster, because you have to incorporate file formats. That's a CMS. You have to incorporate categories for those features. You have to, and in this case, because it's so big, you also have to create groups of features within those categories, and then the features themselves as the endpoint, and then add another one specific for that niche and that tool topic that I will not disclose. And then we have 5 CMSs that have to be spinning together to develop this semantic feeling for the user that will land from a search as looking for a single feature, but will understand that this tool and other capabilities that this tool is having also answers everything they needed and more, thus trying to install the tool, which will give also, good SEO practices and good, triggers for Google to know, okay, so if you give them that, they try it out and they install the software or something. So yeah, and then semantic site tree with URL categories and CMS structure. Okay, so this is the same kind of additive to the last point I was trying to make, is that sometimes you have to build custom blog modules within website to achieve certain results. Best example I know, if we have a SaaS website, and it's a common now practice to have a section that is our tool versus some other tool, right? So I'll take, I don't know, let's take Webflow. Webflow has that in their website. So Webflow versus WordPress, Webflow versus Joomla, Webflow versus Shopify, and things like that, right? So they have these pages. But so you would develop a custom CMS for this content type. So what in the earlier days or on WordPress, that's a very big distinction. That's why for us, it's easier to, for Webflow developers and designers, it's easier to miss it, miss the point, because you come up with your own unique way of presenting information instead of a classic just blog post within WordPress. And then sometimes you hit hard, or sometimes you miss, and we still miss more the way I see most websites are built, but it's good because we're learning. So in this case, you would develop a custom CMS for that content type, which is kind of sounds obvious, but at the same time, you have to develop if you think semantically on top, you have to understand that you have to develop certain semantic elements to it. And as in, the most basic of it would be maybe cards before the post itself, showing what kind of tools you can also check this tool against, or after the post, and then not only linking, but then also like finding a way to present this whole one cluster experience of experiencing that one CMS as a more like immersive, and giving, once again, as we just said, semantic search is about giving user more than they expect they will find. So that's the goal here, how to create this user experience within the CMS that feels like the whole CMS is working together for the user. So that's how I see semantic CMS building within Webflow. That's what I see the biggest kind of the hardest part. And the problem is that we still kind of don't know because both the whole semantic search is only 5 years or something old. And even if you would Google what is semantic search, first 5 results look at it from completely different perspectives. Some of them are very generic and basically say same SEO advice than everybody else on just SEO. Some of them go into very complex things like Python coding and data structuring and developing these kind of hard modules to create these kind of semantic sentence and entity builds. And so that's where, and also Webflow as a tool still doesn't have enough good examples to show those complex things. Or if agencies and or developers come up with them, we not necessarily sometimes get to see them because of, they cannot share it because it's their client website, or they cannot teach us, or that's actually one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to go into this whole topic and launch the space and later turn it into some videos and in some videos and maybe even a podcast, because I think it's important for us to start discussing these things and showing examples, building kind of maybe mock-up copies of what we did and we knew it worked, and kind of showing those interesting things. So yeah, that's short about Semantic. We hit the mark, 27 minutes. And thanks, Colleen and Maria, for being here. Thanks everybody else who joined, and I'm gonna open the chat for everybody. So if anybody wants to raise their hand, let's chat. I would love to hear what you both girls have to say, or ask, or discuss, or anything. So yeah, that was my rant about semantic SEO. Yeah. Okay. Somebody wants to join in? No? Sure. I'm gonna make you both speakers anyways. So just in case you would want to start chatting about anything. Yeah. Yeah. So, any questions? It would be easier if you would have any questions or any other topic, not even topic related chat. So, because I usually prepare for that half an hour and try to kind of have a next of it. And we're just left two of us.